There is just over 3 weeks to go left of the transfer window, and over £1 billion has already been spent by Premier League clubs. I'm here with Aidan McGee to talk you through some of the clubs that have made the biggest impact in the transfer window this season. Yes. So, what do you think have been among the most interesting transfers this season so far, or the clubs that have really splashed the cash in a good way?
I think from a Premier League point of view, you can't really look beyond Lukaku at the moment. It seems a long time ago, given what we've seen in the weeks since. Of course, we saw Neymar go from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain. In the context of that deal, Romelu Lukaku looks quite cheap now, doesn't he? We're seeing some other interesting ones as well. I think Sigurdsson, which we're going to talk about in a little while, that's been going on for ages. Mahrez going to Roma, although I hear he wants to stay in the Premier League. There's a bit of tap dancing going on there, a bit of smoke and mirrors. That's another big one that could happen. But again, £90 million a month ago looked a hell of a lot of money. It now doesn't look quite as much in the context of 200 million. What that's doing down at the bottom is that Sigurdsson, Swansea possibly thinking, given the value he gives you from free kicks, any dead ball situation, accuracy, assists and goals, and the fact that he's at a good age, 26, 27, maybe they've undervalued him at £50 million. You know, Mahrez, a Premier League title winner, good age as well, international, maybe he's undervalued at around about 30 to 35 million pounds. That's what Roma appeared to be ready to pay, but I think Leicester quite rightly are holding out for more, and why shouldn't they in this market?
Exactly. So we're going to have a quick look now at some of the clubs that have spent big money in this window. The club that has spent the most amount of money will be Manchester City.
Yeah,
and so if we have a quick look at their team stats now, we can see...
Yeah, I mean, they got some business done fairly early, didn't they? If we can just load it up. It's always more reliable for me up on the stage. But yeah,
look, they got their business done early. I think it's 6 incomings and something like 27 out. I mean, a lot of those will be loan deals, akin to what Chelsea tend to do. It's almost like a football factory there, isn't it, at Manchester City? But they've gone for quality. They've realised that the defence was a real issue for them last season. It also depends on how Guardiola is going to play. We don't really know what his formation is going to be. Of course, they spent really big, £50 million on a right back, Kyle Walker, a player they've been scouting for quite some time. But also, he's not the only right back they've brought in. They've also brought in Danilo. But who's going to play there? Is one going to be happy to deputise for the other? I personally think Danilo might play at right back, and then Kyle Walker, for all his qualities, I mean, if you did an analysis on the way he plays, you'd very quickly say that, or realise that he's better going forward than he is going back. Will Guardiola be tempted to move him slightly further forward? In terms of other business that they might do, I think that might be it for them. I think they wanted to get their business done early. They wanted to go on tour with all the players in situ, and we can ready to practice on formation and team shape, all the rest of it, in readiness for the new season. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the end of it now. Although there are a few deals, like such as Sanchez, that they'll be, even Oxlade-Chamberlain at Arsenal, that they'll be watching with interest.
Okay, and I mean, we thought earlier on in the transfer window that this figure, 203 million, would be quite a lot to spend on a whole team of players. But, yeah. I mean, PSG have already shown that they're willing to spend almost that on one player.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're reporting tonight they have strong interest in Kylian Mbappe down at Monaco, so that'll be another 100. Possibly might even go to 120. I mean, you know, the money seems to come from a hole in the ground, which we call oil. So I don't think it's a massive issue for them. But what it will do, it will inflate the rest of the transfer market, and we're seeing that already.
So we mentioned it earlier. Manchester United, they are the second highest spenders this transfer window, and we're just going to have a quick look now at their biggest transfers, and obviously the headline one right at the top, Lukaku.
Exactly. I mean, look, they've done a steady flow of business, haven't they? I mean, as I say, Lukaku seems like some time ago now, but I mean, Matic was one that took a long time to get over the line. My understanding is that Roman Abramovich actually sanctioned that and intervened personally on that one and allowed Matic to go to Manchester United when Conte wasn't really that keen on that. It's possibly a source of some friction there with the Italian down at Stamford Bridge. That was a really early one, wasn't it, Lindelof? But in terms of more recent deals that they could really go for, I mean, he said he would say this, I guess, but Jose Mourinho talking about Gareth Bale, he said it would be mission impossible to get him. Of course, Mourinho left just as that deal was happening at Real Madrid in 2013. Could they get him back? Maybe this isn't the time for that to happen. He's been given assurances that he's wanted at Real Madrid, so not sure anything will happen necessarily there. Zlatan could come back. I mean, if he's fit, then you'd fancy him to make an impact, provided he makes a good recovery. And again, you'd think that probably most of their business is done. I certainly can't see them spending more than £90 million on a player. In fact, that's dwarfed by what other clubs around Europe are playing. Even Manchester United, with all the strength and the financial might they have, are struggling to compete with some of the deals going on around Europe now.
I mean, there was one deal that's been rumbling on for Manchester United throughout the summer, and that's Perisic.
Yeah, again, it's we've reported a lot on the Sky Pad. I mean, Mourinho spoke about his former club Inter. Of course, he won the Champions League with them in 2010, and he said that they put up a good defence. They're clinging to their player. They value him at £48 million. Why wouldn't they, given everything that's going on around Europe and even the rest of the world this summer? They're holding on. They're holding out for £48 million. They're confident they can get it from someone. If United don't produce that offer, the offer that they want, then he stays for a bit longer. The club seems to have the power on this one. As Mourinho said, he was very respectful of what they've done to keep the player. But again, 22 days to go, I wouldn't rule it out just yet.
Okay, so there still might be more movement for Manchester United and Everton.
Yeah.
Getting the money, that 90 million for Lukaku.
Yeah,
they're trying
that
to spend
takeover was done last year. We thought the money would be spent immediately. It wasn't quite there, was it? I think Koeman had a season or so to look at what he had to work with. He wanted to look at what was coming through the youth ranks. He's seen one or two unexpected sort of breakthroughs there. But still, Sigurdsson, as I said at the very top, I think he guarantees you consistency from set-piece situations. I know that Koeman wanted him at Southampton. They were going to spend big on one player the summer before last. Sigurdsson wasn't quite in demand then as he is now. He certainly wouldn't have commanded 40 or 50 million, more like low 20s, but he didn't get him then. He wants him now. Again, good age, as I say, 26, 27. But look at the other business as well. I mean, Michael Keane, I mean, that was a reduced one. I mean, I dealt with the agent on this one quite extensively, and I think the down payment was £24 million. It's quite a lot of money for a player who has only one season under his belt in the Premier League and only had a year left on his transfer. But I think when they look at it holistically, given his age and his pedigree as well, he came to the ranks at Manchester United. He's given a good 2 seasons to Burnley now, one of them in the Premier League. I think that they'll look at him as a good bit of business. And I think with the goalkeeper situation as well, Jordan Pickford, you potentially shored up the position for the next 5-10 years if he
Those
stays
investments.
there. Yeah, without doubt. It's kind of similar to what Chelsea had 3 years ago with Courtois and Cech. Yes, there probably wasn't much difference. Cech probably had the edge on experience, but Mourinho at the time knew that he could shore up that position for the next 10 years if he opted for Courtois, and they knew that if they let Courtois go to another club in Europe or even another club in the Premier League, it'd probably come back to haunt them later on, as we've seen with a number of clubs down the years, and they'd end up having to buy him back. So this is one for the future. I think that they will look at that and think, provided he's not scouted by other clubs further down the line, then at least he could be there for 4 or 5 years.
Okay. And so they're some of the biggest spenders this season, and if we can just get this thing to work,
Yeah, we can do it.
we can see that all these clubs have spent money, bought some players. Everyone along here, one club, one team have not spent a penny.
Green there, haven't they? I'm not sure why that's there.
I think just to give Tottenham fans that little bit of hope,
Yeah, exactly.
that they might
Exactly.
actually be signing someone.
Well, look,
So
I don't think it's the end of the world for them. I really don't. I mean, they were an outstanding team last season. Second half of last season, a real powerhouse in the Premier League, arguably the best team in the competition. Look at the history of Pochettino working not just at Tottenham but also at Southampton, also at Espanyol before that. He doesn't like a high turnover of players. He already has a ready-made replacement for Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier has had to bide his time there. He came through the ranks at Manchester City. I was covering Manchester City 7-8 years ago when they really fancied him to do well at Manchester City. He was the right player at the wrong time. Tottenham were taking advantage of that, so they've got that replacement in place. Looking around the rest of the team, yeah, anyone could look at it and think, well, okay, they need probably a little bit more strength in depth. But my own information is that they are very relaxed, and I understand they will do 2 or 3 deals before the end of the window.
okay then. So what kind of areas might they be looking to strengthen in then?
Well, I think they'll need a right back, certainly, because even if Trippier doesn't give them the whole, or even if he does give them the whole season, they're going to need backup there. If they're going to be challenging on a big pitch at Wembley, they're going to be competing in the Champions League, they're going to need numbers. You cannot do it unless you've got strength in depth, and I think they'll strengthen there. You might look at the forward area and think, well, Vincent Janssen didn't really do it last season. Some would say, well, he was in and out of the side. They're very reliant on Harry Kane. Possibly there might be some movement there up front. They've been linked with a couple of other players as well. João Cancelo at Valencia. looking at the defensive positions. They've got competition there from Chelsea, I think. So in terms of who they'll get, not sure at the moment, but I think they're targeting a few positions, and they did tell somebody here today at Sky Sports News that there could be 2 or 3 coming in before the end of the window, but they are relaxed.
Okay, so there are some hope for Tottenham fans there. Well, thank you very much there, Aidan.
No worries,
much appreciated, and hopefully that's given some cheer to some of the fans of some of the clubs. Aidan's going to be back with a transfer centre on Sky Sports News at 10:30, and so don't miss that.
Is it?
Yeah, you got half an hour more.
Oh wow! Good have a sleep.
Yeah, sleep and some dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aidan, and thank you very much for watching.